Here's a scene that could be described as somewhere between punishing and impossible to light correctly. One common technique in VFX compositing to compensate for a lighting situation like this is light wrap. And in this lesson, I'll teach you a simple recipe to add a good light wrap effect to your shot and better match the foreground and background. This foreground shot was taken on a green screen, and there's no practical way to stick a light source like this behind the talent on a green screen, even if you wanted that. And if you did it that way, it would certainly limit your options to relight him later. Instead, let's get him matched as well as we can to begin. I'll just silhouette him like I see on the hillside there. And I also notice that the blacks are a little bit washed out. And so he doesn't really look right. He's very cut out looking over the sky. And in the rest of the shot, we can clearly see that even though the one light source in the shot is behind everything, there's a lot of light getting in everywhere, and we don't see it on him. So to recreate that effect, we want some light basically wrapping around his edges. Now, After Effects compositors tend to want a simple one-button solution for this. And so one not very effective way to do this is to use a layer style. So if I add an inner glow effect, twirl that down and make a little room for it, I can crank up the size a bit, maybe soften its intensity. You can see that it's okay around the top, but overall it looks terrible. He looks like he's being beamed in. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And instead, I'm going to bite the bullet and pre-comp. Duplicate the layers and call the pre-comp light wrap pre. And in there, I'll select the foreground and change its blending mode to the little known Silhouette Alpha. All this does is basically make a cookie cutter out of the alpha of that layer. It turns the layer off effectively and leaves the selection as everything but that layer. Then I want a copy of that layer, and I want to do the opposite and choose Stencil Alpha. So if I turn the previous one off, you can see that this selects everything but the background. And it basically, again, carves down. You don't see the layer itself, but you see the background, and it's stenciled by that alpha channel. The two of them together just leave a barely visible boundary. But if I add an adjustment layer in between them and apply to it a blur effect, such as fast blur, what I'm doing is basically pushing the background into the foreground. So this is blurring this background layer using these two selections, one over the other. Let me choose a modest amount to begin with, and let's check out the result. This is working better than the layer style, if only for the reason that it's using the actual colors in the background to bleed in. So down here, where the background's darker, you don't get this telltale weird outline. Now, I can take this whole layer and adjust it up and down, and you see kind of the effect of it. In this case, I'm going to try a whole different style and actually increase the blur a lot. This is the other way you can go with this. And now I'm going to have to bring back the intensity a bit, but you can see that I've got something that just in this case seems a bit more plausible. So I like to keep this basic light wrap setup handy whenever I need to composite against a bright background. I would caution you not to overuse it, although I do know of compositors who have made light wrap something like a signature style.